Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another 3 questions in 3 minutes with our Power Women for August. Today, I am very excited to be joined by Leslie Gordon. Leslie is the president and CEO of Food Bank for New York City. Leslie also has a lot of experience in the anti-hunger movement and has been a leader in the fight against hunger for a long time. She served as president and CEO of Feeding Westchester, which is the largest anti-hunger organization in the county. And before that, she worked at City Harvest to expand their food distribution operations as well. So Leslie, welcome. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to share the time with you.
Yes, of course. So maybe this is just because I'm from Montana, but when I think of a food bank, I typically think of a pretty small operation, a small space where people can come and pick up groceries and get provisions that they might need. But that is not really what Food Bank for New York City is. I mean, it doesn't really fit into that small box. You guys have quite a large operation. And so I'm wondering if you could just give us kind of a brief overview of some of the services and resources that you guys provide, as well as some of the initiatives that you guys are engaged in.
Sure. So for context and color, there's some 200 food banks in the United States. We're one of the nation's largest food banks. People often think of food pantry versus food bank. And so we're at the heart of a network of nearly 800 on the ground soup kitchens, food pantries, partners at healthcare institutions, institutions of higher education, and other partners across the 5 boroughs on nearly every street in nearly every neighborhood that partner with us to get good, nutritious food directly into the hands of people who need it. In our history, we've incredibly provided about 1.2 billion, with a big B, meals to New Yorkers since our founding in 1983. In fact, we're going to be celebrating our 40th anniversary this spring in 2023. And, I tell people that food alone can't solve hunger. So at Food Bank for New York City, we're really proud to ensure that people are connected to good, nutritious food for today and also hope for tomorrow. And that's through resources that we connect them to, including tax filing. Interestingly, we're one of the nation's largest tax filing organizations outside the US military, returning an average of about $1,800 cash into people's pockets right here in New York City every single year. Assistance in enrolling for SNAP, formerly called food stamps, nutrition education, helping people on limited incomes think more about how to shop, cook, and eat healthy with the limited budget that they have, financial empowerment workshops. All of this is free, by the way, and available to anybody who needs it.
Wow, that's incredible. And I think that distinction between food bank versus food pantry is really helpful. So thank you for that. And
Sure.
you joined in March 2020, which is quite a time to join or to make any kind of transition. And so I want to ask you about that. First with the COVID pandemic, now with inflation, I feel like these services are more needed than ever. And so what has that been like for you throughout the past 2.5 years?
I tell people that Food Bank for New York City is really made for moments like this. We have a long history of stepping into the gap and helping our New York City neighbors when they're most at need. We were here for them in 9/11, Hurricane Sandy, and of course, now the pandemic. The unfortunate part about it is that we're in one of the richest cities in the world, and the need is so great across the 5 boroughs. We're in a city of about 8.4 million people in residence, and nearly 1.6 million of those 8.4 are folks who struggle to figure out where their next meal is coming from and what it will be. And that's really stressful. Food is a basic right, and it's hard to fix anything else if you can't fix food. Food insecurity is a problem that's been hiding in plain sight really for years, I tell people. And now with the state of the world and inflation, the numbers of people who are needing food right here in New York City in every single borough, in nearly every neighborhood, remains at a historic all-time high.
Wow, that I had no idea the numbers were that high. So thank you for the work that you're doing again. What are some policies that you might want to see some New York City or New York State lawmakers make that would help you guys? What are some things that you guys are looking at that might be helpful from the representatives in the city?
Sure. So first, we want to take an opportunity to thank our representatives who care so much and step into those roles to make a difference for their constituents. We're always glad to partner with them. And together in those partnerships with them, we're able to create better lives for everybody in New York City and statewide. We'd like to see an expansion of culturally appropriate and religiously required food across New York City, increasing access also to non-food items that can be really expensive, such as hygiene products for distribution at our nearly 800 on-the-ground partners throughout the city. And then we encourage investments in operational capacity and innovation around distribution models, some of which we lifted up during the pandemic and that could be permanent. Embracing good food purchasing policies, making sure that they're coming from environmentally sustainable and equitable sources. And of course, we always welcome all New Yorkers from every borough to support our mission. You can volunteer, you can advocate, and you can donate. And we start as early as age 5 or age 7. And you're never too old on the other end of the spectrum to jump right in and do what you can.
I love that. So everyone has a role to play. That sounds great. Leslie, thank you so much for joining me and for being one of our Power Women. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.